Let's go. That's Kobe. Tries to get cheerleader to bite. Then he shoots. I'll get thrown off the glass and go get it myself. Wow, did you see the move by the kid? That's Kobe.
You're going to show up to play, and you're going to lollygag through this scrimmage, through this drill. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to let you know I beat you. I'm going to want you to reconsider your professional life choice.
Let's dive into your mindset, because I really think that you have so many things that translate beyond sports. When we talk about mindset and beliefs, we talk about limiting beliefs as sort of being the ceiling of your potential. How do you stretch your beliefs and make sure you are continually pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone and your capabilities?
I just dream. I dream. I have dreams, and dreams they should be pure. I think a lot of times when we're born into this world, we actually wind up going backwards. And it seems like the more we mature, the more responsible our dreams become. And the more governors we put on ourselves and our ability to dream and to reimagine. And it's always a fight for us parents and for you guys to make sure that your dreams always stay pure. So it's not a matter of pushing beyond the limitations or expectations. It's really a matter of protecting your dreams, protecting your imagination. That's really the key. And when you do that, then the world just seems limitless.
What does that mean to be fearless? Why is that such an important part of the Mamba mentality?
Well, man, because I think the greatest fear that we face is ourselves. It's not anything that's external or anything that's superficial. I think the greatest fear you face is yourself, because we all have dreams, and it's very scary sometimes to accept the dream that you have. And it's scarier still to say, okay, I want that. It's scary because you're afraid that if you put your heart and soul into it and you fail, then how are you going to feel about yourself? Right? So being fearless means putting yourself out there and going for it. No matter what, go for it. Not for anybody else, but for yourself.
Well, no, I mean, it's that's the trick, isn't it? It's finding what you love to do. And we talk about hard work all the time. It's like, man, if you got to get up every single morning and remind yourself how hard you need to work, you probably need to choose a different profession, because that shouldn't be there. Because I wake up in the morning excited to get to it. If I'm not training, I'm missing it. I'm not watching a game of basketball, I miss it. There's no place I'd rather be. And if you have that feeling, then you're truly doing what God has put you on this earth to do.
You have to dance beautifully in the box that you are comfortable dancing in. So like, everybody's box is different. My box was to be extremely ambitious within the sport of basketball. Your box is different than mine, right? Every kid here has their own box, but it doesn't mean that your box isn't as beautiful as mine, right? Everybody has their own. It's your job to try to perfect it and make it as beautiful of a canvas as you can make it. And if you have done that, then you have lived a successful life. You have lived with Mamba mentality. Right? So it doesn't mean you have to go out here and do all of these crazy things. I'll have to be like this person or that person. No, what are you comfortable being? What is it that you want to do with your life? And once you have that, then you try to live it to the best of your ability.
The owner of the Lakers, Jerry Buss, said it was like watching a miracle happen. And for those of us watching on TV or were there, it really was one of those things you just couldn't believe was possible. During the game, did you have to sort of like reset your beliefs? I know Lamar Odom was saying you can't get 60, you can't get 70, or did you just let it flow and whatever happened, happened, or were you really like gunning for numbers?
No, I always dreamed as a kid that it was possible to score 80 or 90 or 100. I always just like had a dream. Like sometimes you lay down in bed and you visualize things. You just kind of that's at least how I would go to sleep. I'd lay down, I'd imagine playing for the Lakers, and I'd imagine what the uniforms look like. I'd imagine what we'd be playing, the smell of the arena and all sorts of stuff. And I would see myself, getting hot, score 10 straight points. But in the dream, like, why would you ever interrupt that? Like, you're not going to have a dream and be like, okay, then he misses his next 6. Like, it's not going to happen. So you just keep dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. And before I go to sleep, I'm like at 120 points, And so when you grow up, downloading that into your brain over and over and over. And then, that summer, I made 1,000 shots a day. 1,000. And they weren't just shots. It were shots that you saw in that game. They were specific shots. I mean, it was coming out of the corner, going to the pinch post, footwork in the post, coming off the screen. It was very specific. So when you download that into your system, you go out in the court and you're just executing things that you've done thousands of times before, and you have that dream, then that becomes possible.
It's just a matter of what's important to you. What's important to you. For whatever reason, I felt like I didn't feel good about myself if I wasn't doing everything I could to be the best version of myself. If I felt like I left anything on the table, it would eat away at me. I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror. Right? So the reason why I can retire now and be completely comfortable about it, because I know that I've done everything I could to be the best basketball player I could be. And so that's where it comes from for me. You can't leave any stone unturned.
During the anthem, you seem to go to a place where you're generating calm, focus, confidence. Do you have a mindfulness or meditative practice that you use while you play?
Yeah, well, Phil introduced meditation to us when he came to our team in 99, 2000. It was something that I instantly gravitated to because I could see the effects. I used to watch, studying the games, the Bulls teams, and watching their demeanor, watching their composure, playing in a tough place like Utah doing the finals and being down 17. But everybody was like this. You couldn't tell if they were down 17 or up 20 or a tie game. It never changed. And that's when I started doing more research. And when Phil came, I immediately gravitated to him and found myself accepted a challenge of finding what that space is. And for the 81-point game, man, to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about the game. My knee was hurting so much. I didn't know then, but I had a flatwood joint, cartilage stuck in my joint line. And so my mind was really trying to go to a place where I don't feel that pain. And the game started, and because of that, I was just in a different space. I wasn't worried about what was to come. I wasn't worried about what just happened. I was just here. And when you're just there in the moment, playing plays right in front of you, your focus is heightened because nothing else matters. And that's the space I've tried to get to.
It's a perfect definition of mindfulness, in the present moment without judgment.
If your job is to try to be the best basketball player you can be, right? To do that, you have to practice, you have to train, right? You want to train as much as you can, as often as you can. So if you get up at 10 in the morning, train at 11, right? 12, say 12, train at 12, train for 2 hours, 12 to 2. You have to let your body recover. So you eat, recover, whatever. You get back out, you train, start training again at 6. Train from 6 to 8, right? And now you go home, you shower, you eat dinner, you go to bed, you wake up, you do it again, right? Those are 2 sessions, right? Now imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4, you go 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax, blah, blah, blah. Now you're back at it again, 9 to 11, right? Relax, and now all of a sudden you're back at it again, 2 to 4, and now you're back at it again, 7 to 9. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4, right? And so now you do that, and as the years go on, the separation that you have with your competitors and your peers just grows larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. And by year 5 or 6, doesn't matter what kind of work they do in the summer, they're never going to catch up because they're 5 years behind. Right? So it makes sense to get up and start your day early because you can get more work in. For me, it was just common sense. Like I can if I start earlier, I can train more hours, and I know the other guys aren't doing it because I know what their training schedule is. Right? So I know if I do this consistently over time, the gap's just going to widen and widen and widen and widen and widen, and they won't be able to get that back. So to me, it was just common sense. I'm like thinking, how can I get an advantage? Oh, start earlier. Yeah, let's do that.
When did you start doing that?
Man, high school. My first class in high school was at 7:45. I used to get to the gym around 5 a.m.
There was a year I played Indiana Pacers in the finals. I rolled my ankle really bad. I came back, finished the series, but I couldn't touch a basketball until mid-September, which was driving me crazy, so I couldn't train. But I looked at, this was like the 10th time I rolled my ankle in one season. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, I got to address that. And so being that I couldn't get on the basketball court, what I did was I took tap dancing lessons.
Okay.
No kidding. I took tap, and tap was like the best training for me in the world because it strengthened my feet, it changed my rhythm and my approach to the game. I was able to change speeds when I came back the following season. I was just around the game a lot, and I gravitated to the ball, and I was completely geeking out about like the smell of the ball and like the way it sounds when it hits concrete versus how it hits a parquet floor, and like the sound of the nets and the different material of the nets. And you know, there's certain basketball hoops, like in high school gyms and in college gyms, the rim sits slightly above the lower part of the backboard. And it was like, I was geeking out if I got into a gym which was like the NBA with the lower stanchion of the backboard and the hoop were completely parallel with each other. Like little shit like that would freak me out.
Now that I'm retired, you know, everything that I've learned from the game of basketball, I've carried it over into life. You know, like basketball's helped me be a better person, a better friend, a better
How so?
father. Well, because there's life lessons that are within the game, like communication, like unselfishness, like attention to detail, empathy and compassion. Like all those things are in the game. And as an athlete, if we are aware of those things, it helps us become better human beings. And my goal is changed drastically as I got older. So like as a kid, I said I want to be the best ever. Right? And now you go through your life and everything you do is try to be the best ever, be the best ever, be the best ever. And as you get older, you start understanding that those things are very superficial things. Right? And everybody has a different opinion about it. No matter what you do, I can win 20 championships. There's always an opinion on who's the best. Everybody has different opinions. And so I started really kind of understanding maybe that's not the important thing. Maybe the important thing is to, you know, how do we as a team grow? How do I help my teammates be better? So that was the first change for me. And then as I got older still, it became more about how are you inspiring others, right, to find themselves. That is the ultimate championship. So won 5 championships, that's great. Another team won a championship this year. Team's gonna win a championship next year. Those things come and they go. But what stays is how do you use your passion and use that to inspire somebody else to create their passion? And then how can they pass that on to the next person? That is true success. So my goals have changed drastically from the time I was 6 years old to the time I was 17 to the time I was 25 and now sitting here at 37. I think you have to challenge yourself to evolve and to grow. And I couldn't think of a better message for athletes in particular, because it's very easy for us athletes to kind of lose ourselves and our identity by connecting who we are to what we do. And I think that's a very dangerous zone to be in, right? So it's common sense to me to be able to say, okay, the next stage I'm going after with the same intensity, the same attention to detail, the same curiosity. So of course I'd want to be better at that than I was in my previous career.
That's a pretty high bar, though. You have enough energy left for that orange, I guess.
We're going to find out, right? I mean, that's the thing. You go for it. You do all you can. You learn as much as you can. You continue to try. You continue to improve. You continue to evolve. And then you can see who you are, right? 20 years from now, I can look in the mirror and say I gave it my best shot, and we did the best we could, and see where we end up. I mean, it's the curiosity. I think the curiosity is the most important thing. I mean, it sounds really weird to say, but like leadership lessons. I learned leadership lessons just from walking in the park and just observing nature, and the sun's relationship with nature, and relationship with the moon, and the sun understanding when to be present and when to go away, right? Because as a teammate, it was like, dude, the sun's out all damn long. You're gonna sunburn a hell of a lot of people, right? So if I'm playing this game and I'm on top of my guys for 48 minutes, dude, you're gonna sunburn every single teammate there, right? So there's certain times where it's important for the sun to be present. There's other times it needs to go away, right? And but there are life lessons that surround us at all times, and I've always been extremely, extremely curious about those things.
As a leader of a team, it's also your responsibility to elevate the rest of the guys. And what people tend to get stuck on a lot is saying, okay, the way to make players better is to pass them the ball when they're open. That's a very trivial way to look at things. What you have to do is you have to get them emotionally to want to be better. You have to get them to an emotional space where they wake up every morning driven to be the best version of themselves, right? How do you do that? And in practice, for me, it was a chance to drive them, to challenge them, right? And this is where you have to know your teammates, because if it's late, you just had a back-to-back, and we had practice the next day, and you show up, the guys don't feel like going through the motions, don't feel like practicing. It's important to know each and every one of them individually, personally, because then you know what nerve to touch. Some guys, it's like, okay, come on, we can do this. That'll get them going. Other guys, no. You got to figure out what button to push. Powell was always Spain. If I tell them how they lost in a gold medal to us and how they're going to lose again, how I'm going to beat your ass in practice just like I beat you in a gold medal game, he would hate that. But that's what practice was. You have to drive them. You absolutely have to. And if practice is more intense and harder than a Game 7 will be, then a Game 7 will be easy. But if it's not, then that's when teams start folding and capitulating.
Be yourself. That's it. Be you. Be you. There's no gimmick. You don't have to contrive anything. Who are you? Where are you today? What is your story? Where does that come from? Right? And then all you're doing is now communicating the story to the public.
The important thing to understand is you can't shortchange yourself. Like you're not cheating anybody but yourself. Right? I mean, you're tired. You're literally this far away from the line. Why would you not go that extra to touch the line? Right? So if I let him get away with that, right, all of a sudden he starts maybe to cheat something over here, right? Not give his best over here, not give his best over here. And as years go on, he's going to be he's not going to reach his full potential because he's been taking these little shortcuts that just add up. And you can't let that happen. Our job as teachers, as mentors, as inspirers, it's our responsibility to hold them accountable to those things. Every kid, every person has the ability to put one foot in front of the other. So like if you're saying, okay, I'm going to climb Mount Everest, you're at the bottom of the mountain and you look up and you're going, I'm not going to climb Mount Everest, right? But if you break it down into sections and just one foot in front of the other, one step at a time, next thing you know, you're at the top of the mountain. I was able to find enjoyment in the process of it, and it's, I think it's just finding what it is that you love to do. Like I don't feel like I worked a day in my life. It's hard work as it's defined by the world, but to me, there was no place I'd rather be. Like I'd rather not be anywhere. I'd rather be on the track at 4 a.m. running wind sprints and, then be in a weight room at 6, and then be on the court at 9, and then, train till 3, and then be back. I'd rather be doing that than anything else. So it wasn't like it was hard work. I just found what it is that I love to do.
The Mamba mentality simply means trying to be the best version of yourself. That's what the mentality means. Every day, you're trying to become better. And it's a constant quest. It's an infinite quest. So starting at the age of 2, when I first started playing the game, and on and on and on, I always ask questions. I always try to get better every single day.
Can you tell us why you're doing this, why you're going into a creative endeavor like Granity Studios?
Because I love doing it. I mean, it's that simple. You know, you have to sit and ask yourself what is truly going to get you up in the morning, what's going to keep you up at night. And you know, when you find what that answer is, you stay true to that. You know, I've built a brand for the last 20-some years, personal brand, which is great. But that is not where our focus is going to be for the next 50 years. Right? It's what we are doing now. Are we taking a big risk? Yeah. But I think that if we focus on one thing and do that one thing exceptionally well, we won't fail at that one thing. So sometimes you got to put the other stuff to bed and focus on what you believe is the core of the company, and that always starts from what you love to do the most.
When you were a kid, did you ever dream of hearing, and the Oscar goes to?
No, no. I mean, I grew up in Italy, okay? So, like, I didn't even know Oscars was a thing. Like, I had no idea, you know? And so, when the nominations came out, we were nominated, it was like, oh, that's pretty crazy, that's pretty insane. And then to actually win it, I remember winning and just looking at my wife and going, what the fuck? You know, it's just like, what? Okay, all right, this happened. All right. And I remember after we won it, we got in the car, and, you know, it was like a late night, right? So we out hanging out and stuff, and it's like 4 a.m, and, you know, we're in the car going back, and I look at my wife and I go, now we gotta follow this shit up.
We're going to talk about Granity Studios and what projects you have coming, but you're right, you've set a pretty high bar.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I don't know what the hell. You do up with Glenn Keane and John Williams, it's all downhill after that. It's like, you know, but no, it's been a fantastic experience. It's been wonderful. But even more important than that, I got a lot of funny looks my last year. When people said, okay, what are you going to do when you retire? And I said, well, I'm going to be a storyteller. Okay, that's cute. What is that? I tell stories. Okay, all right, but so when you retire, you're going to go through different stages. You're going to be depressed the first week, the second week, and they would tell me this all the time. And so I felt like the nomination was validation that this thing is real, and I can do this. I do have talent other than, you know, dribbling and shooting the basketball. I can actually write.
I came back from the Achilles, and I was fine. And then the next year, I fractured my knee. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like, oh, here we go again. Come back from that next year, tear my shoulder. Here we go again, right? But if I looked at those things in totality, it'd be depressing. But if I look at it as just the facts, this is, it happened. Can't do anything about it. It happened. Now what are you gonna do? One step at a time. The critics are out there saying he's done, he'll never come back. Well, maybe you're right, maybe you're not. But let's find out.
So you live for those moments where you're embarrassed, when you're down, people kick you, don't let you score. Those are the moments that drive you.
Well, I mean, those are the moments that occur, right? So whatever moments occur, good, bad, or indifferent, I can use those moments to propel me forward, use those as fuel to help me be a better player.
You have to have the patience, you have to find beauty in the process of building something, and find beauty in the journey and understand that the end result is not really the most beautiful part of it. So it's having that patience.
I just looked at it as, I want to be one of the best basketball players who've ever played. That's the end goal. Okay, how do I get there? How do I get there? And every decision I made in my life was centered around the process of helping me eventually get there. You know what I'm saying? So I had that purpose, and once I had that purpose, every decision that I made was centered around that purpose. Whatever you're doing at that moment is what you're doing at that moment. You know, it's like, that's where the obsessiveness is having attention to detail for the action that you are performing at the time you're performing it. And if you can have that kind of focus, you can't help but to have a certain level of obsession or attention to detail.
Down moments for you in basketball?
Well, losing to the Celtics in the finals in 2008, I mean, that was tough.
Oh, that hurt me too.
Yeah, I mean, it was brutal. And I remember at night in the hotel room, after we lost, just thinking to myself, I might never win another championship. Like, I might have just, like, this is it. It's too hard to get back here. Maybe it's not in the cards to win another one. And so I go through that night of being mad, and then the next morning I wake up and I start thinking, nah, I gotta fix this. So where did it go wrong? You know, why did we lose? Right? We weren't tough enough. Okay, we weren't tough enough. responsibility is that to make the team tough? It's mine. All right, so now I have to start figuring out how I'm going to lead this team differently, so to make sure that when we get to the finals the next time, we're tough and ready for this challenge. And that's how you bounce back from those moments. When I need that escape, it's there for me. Right? When I need a friend, it's there for me. And when I need to vent, don't dog it.
How does your gut come into play when you're hearing pitches and thinking about those reactions and what a company's potential is?
Yeah, it's just the truth. It's the truth of the company, it's the truth of the athlete, but it's the truth of the story. Right? It starts there, man. It starts there. It's not trying to say, okay, I'm going to create an idea that's never been created before, or let's use our imagination to come up with something that the world has never seen. That's not it. It's not it. It's what do you want to build? What does your company stand for? And how do you think you can make a different world? Right? And then once you start from that truth and understanding who you are, then from that, the idea will emerge. You can't, I don't believe it can be flipped. I'm sure it happens sometimes when imagination strikes and all of a sudden something comes. That'll be fleeting as well. If you start with the truth, the idea comes from that, and that's when you have something that lasts forever.
So, yeah, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And what can I say? Mamba out.